Hey everybody, today I'm going to talk about what the 10 essentials should look like if you go day hiking. If you're going out on a longer trip for the weekend or maybe for a week, the 10 essentials are going to look different because you have different gear with you and you have different needs on a longer excursion. But for summer day hiking, this should be a great starting point for you. The 10 essentials are navigation equipment, sun protection, headlamp or flashlight, first aid kit, knife, source of fire, shelter, extra food, extra water, and extra clothing. You should be taking some form of these every time you go out into the backcountry, just in case you happen to get lost, injured, or otherwise delayed. The first essential is navigation. Having proper navigation equipment will mean you'll have a smoother, low-stress hiking trip because you're not going to get lost, and in many cases, if you're using your phone for GPS, the apps will sometimes have little indicators for features or stuff you should go look at while you're out there. For navigation equipment, I recommend using your phone if you have a smartphone and turning on airplane mode to save battery. The GPS in your smartphone will still work even if you don't have signal, and you can utilize one of a large variety of apps so that you can download maps for offline use and use them to track your progress. I'll put a link to some of the apps down in the description, but our preference is using AllTrails, and we've got the Pro subscription for it and find that it works very, very well. You should also make sure that you have a paper map and compass and that you know how to use them. We have these so that we can use them for emergency navigation in case we decide we need to move even after we've gotten lost. Though you do need to remember that sometimes staying put is the best course of action. The next essential is sun protection. This is a hat, sunglasses, long sleeve shirt and pants, as well as using sunscreen. There are very few things that are as easy to get and avoid as a sunburn, but they can really screw up your trip if you happen to get one. On top of your gear, if it's going to be very hot between about 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., you should also be looking to find shade so that you can stay out of direct sunlight and try to minimize the amount of time you're in the heat. This is a very important topic for us because rosin's very susceptible to sunburns, and we don't want to screw up a trip that's 4 to 6 days long on day 2 because we weren't paying attention to it. The third essential is a headlamp, flashlight, or some other easy portable light source. Sometimes you end up taking too long when you're hiking and you're out during the dusk when it's all kind of washed out and hard to see the trail because the lighting's really poor, or a storm cloud rolls in late in the day and you lose the last couple of hours of sunlight that you thought you had. We personally both have headlamps because we want our hands to be free when we're moving. Most phones do have a flashlight option that you can use. We just use our phones for video and GPS, so we want to make sure they don't run out of battery throughout the day. Next up is the first aid kit. Any one-day first aid kit you get at an outdoor store will likely work just fine, but at a minimum, you want to make sure there's an emergency blanket, a large variety of band-aids, gauze, and some medical tape. You should also make sure to add an antidiuretic, something to help with headaches like Advil or Tylenol, as well as something for your stomach like Tums. Small things can start spiraling out of control very rapidly, so knowing how to deal with small cuts and abrasions, as well as making sure you get lots of water and keeping headaches away, definitely going to make your trip go a lot better. Item number 5 is your trusty knife. If you don't have one, you should go and buy one. Rosin uses a multi-tool with a 2-inch blade on it, as well as a pair of pliers, a small saw, and a file, and a couple of other things. It's really good for cutting tape for blisters, getting into packages. We've used it to de-hook a fish before, and it's been very useful while on trail. I use a larger knife, and we honestly really only use it for helping start fires and a couple of other things that the multi-tool is not quite cut out for. But it doesn't really see much use on day hikes because of the size of it. Item number 6 is a way to make fire. We take a Bic lighter with us out on trail because they're cheap, reliable, and fit just about anywhere. There really isn't a lot more to explain about this one, so make sure you have one when you go into the backcountry. The 7th essential is shelter. Now, I agree that taking a tent on a day hike is a little bit ridiculous, and so on a day hike, you really only need to take like an emergency blanket or a small tarp, something that'll be able to provide you with rain or wind cover in the event that you need it. Being able to create a spot where you're sheltered from the wind and rain will go a long way in helping you in any survival situation you might find yourself in. The other advantage to tarps and emergency blankets is that they generally stand out against the surrounding foliage, and that'll just make it easier for people to find you if they are looking for you because you're lost. On day hikes, Roz and I take an emergency blanket, and while that might not be ideal and we could take a tarp, for us, it seems like the right decision. Essentials 8 and 9 are extra food and extra water. We generally make sure we have a whole extra day's worth of food when we're out backpacking and at least an extra granola bar or two when we're day hiking. This isn't going to be great food, but it's going to be calorie dense food like nuts, protein bars, and jerky. Something that'll get you a lot of calories for a very small amount of space to help keep you going if you need it. For water, we bring our Sawyer filters because they're small, compact, and easy to use, and this way we don't have to carry a bunch of extra water bottles full of water or wait for water tablets to filter things. The water filters also help filter gunk out of the water instead of just purifying it of any bacteria or anything that's in it, so that makes it a lot more pleasant to drink. The last essential is extra clothing. Even on a summer hike, we're going to have at least a rain jacket or a windbreaker with us. Having that extra impermeable layer with you to help trap your body heat against you if it suddenly gets windy or it's raining a bit, or even if the sun just goes down and you weren't prepared for it, will help a lot with both morale and keeping your body temperature up and keeping you going. So what does all of this look like? All spread out, it does look like a lot of gear, and looks like it's going to be hard to fit into a small backpack you'd be taking on a day hike. This is my 18-liter backpack, and it's made of super thin material to be very packable, and there's only one large compartment with a little sleeve compartment in the front. So I'm going to go ahead and pack everything into here, and we'll see how it goes. With everything in here, I still have room for the food I need for the day, as well as a couple extras like a small towel, extra pair of socks, or more food, because it's a day hike and a picnic is basically obligatory. I've also used my sit pad in here to act as a back support so that it's a little more rigid and easier to carry everything and just more comfortable in general. Hopefully this shows that you can have all of the essentials that you'll need on a day hike in case you get lost or injured without having to break out the expedition pack. While this list of gear will help you out in many situations, the more important things are making sure that you have a plan on how to use it, the skills to use it, and that you've told somebody where you're going so that hopefully you don't actually end up needing to use all of these pieces of equipment. The gear is really just a tool to help you out with your plan and won't get you through on your own if you don't know what you're doing with it. If you thought this was useful, please hit the like button, share, or subscribe. We want to share all of our adventures with as many people as possible and to help make the trips you guys are doing a little safer and more enjoyable while you're out there. Stay safe and have a good week.